2019 has been a pretty alright year for me, especially compared to 2018. In 2018, I was all over the place. I was struggling heavily with my mentality, dealing with working a full-time job while also wanting to be a full-time YouTuber or streamer. I had all these ideas that I wanted to try, but I lacked the time, skills, and energy to maintain that pace. This has been a bit of a recurring theme with me as I work to try to find the perfect work to life to YouTube or stream type balance. I've tried quite a lot of things, including bringing my work hours down to a part-time level so I can have some extra time to work on my channel or channels. I've tried emulating some other successful YouTubers like Northern Lion, for example, who pumps out like 5 to 7 videos per day consistently, 7 days a week. I've tried focusing on just one game, one video per day, but no matter what I tried, I would eventually give up again, as life stresses would ultimately defeat me, and I would have to take a step back and make sure my actual life wasn't going to fall apart before focusing on YouTube again. When 2019 started, I was full of ambition and vigor, not for YouTube, but for real life. I realized my weight was becoming a pretty big issue, and I did something about it. I took an even farther step back from YouTube to really focus on my physical and mental health. I went on a diet, I started counting calories, and even did some regular exercise. My physical health was improving greatly. All you have to do is go back and look at some of my face cam stuff from 2018 and earlier to compare it to more recent videos to see a major difference. But for some reason, things on the mental side were not going so well. I was still struggling with staying at my job, and I was dedicating all my free time to just recovering from the workday or even the work week. I had no mental energy to spend anywhere else, so I just ended up wasting a lot of time. I was aware of all the time being wasted as well, which was not helping to bring my mental state back to normal. Things actually got pretty dark for a while, but that's not really the main point of this video, so perhaps I can expand on this time in my life in a different video. The point of this video is to look forward to 2020, which is just around the corner. This year I'm going to try a different approach, which is to focus on my mentality first. So after hours of scouring YouTube and other websites, looking for ways to rebalance my mindset, I learned about goal setting. Now obviously I've heard about goal setting before, and I've done it at a basic level, but I dove deeper and found that there could be some real magic here. There are all sorts of examples of successful people advocating for goal setting as a real reason they became successful. The point is to write down the goals and then really think about them. So I'm going to link a video that really clicked with me in the description, and you should really check it out if the topic interests you. But the basic gist is to write down 10 goals, prioritize them, and then focus hard on the top few. Take the goals you're focusing hard on, and for each one ask this question: what can I do to achieve this goal? The idea is to come up with 20 different ideas that will help achieve the goal. And 20 is a lot when you sit down and start writing them out. And for my top 3 goals, I don't even have the full 20 ideas yet, although I am getting there. But I think about these goals every single morning and add to them as ideas come to me. And this is my favorite part of the whole thing. Because by writing down the goals and checking them every day, you keep them at the front of your mind, or at least for me, at the front of my mind. It helps me to stay focused on what's important in a major way. Every day starts with a reminder of what I want to achieve, and there's even a list of things I can do to help get there. This helps so much as I cannot count the amount of days where I wake up in the morning and the last thing on my mind is my life goals. All I can think about is how can I force myself to go to work, or is there any way I can get out of going to work? So, why is there a StarCraft 2 replay going on in the background, and how does it relate to the topic of this video? Well, StarCraft players will probably get the idea pretty quickly, but if you've never seen this game, then let me explain it briefly. StarCraft is like chess, but imagine instead of just moving your piece on top of an opponent's to remove it from the board, you need to press 100 buttons in the exact precise order, and your opponent has to do the same thing to defend himself. In my opinion, it's the ultimate battle of wits and precision gaming in a 1v1 format. Fighting games actually share a lot of similarities as well, as they also capture the raw essence of a 1v1 competition in a way that few games really can. With StarCraft, it takes hours and hours and hours of practice to even do some of the basic things competently. There are so many ways you can make a mistake. You can forget a supply depot. You can put your building in the wrong place. You can forget to scout your opponent, or you can even scout your opponent but misread the situation. You can also do every one of these things perfectly, but still lose the game if your army control is worse than your opponent's. Now, these things only scratch the surface of what can actually go on throughout an entire game of StarCraft, but you're starting to get the idea. At the end of the game, the player who made the right plays when it counted the most is the player who wins the game, and the player who lost had every opportunity to win, but just didn't play as well. When you win a game of StarCraft, it is hard to describe the feeling. I still remember the first game I ever won. It took me a very long time to achieve that first win. It goes both ways though, and losses can be heartbreaking. Try playing a 30-minute TVT that taxes your skills and brain to the extreme, only to lose at the end and have it feel like it was all for nothing. It's draining, and it was your fault you lost. But I'm starting to get carried away here. I can talk about StarCraft 2 for hours, and maybe I will one day. But this video is about goals. I set myself a goal that I will hit Masters League before the end of 2021. I also set a goal that I will release one YouTube video every week on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern. So here we are, the first video of the new era. Not every video will be about StarCraft 2, but quite a few of them will be. I'll be tracking my progress throughout the year and updating you guys through the Sunday videos. So let's talk about my goal. What is Masters League? Why is this important to me? Again, StarCraft 2 players probably know this already, but let's break it down a bit for those who don't know much about the game. Oh, and by the way, this game is actually free to play, so if this sounds exciting to you and you wonder if you could be up to the challenge, you're more than welcome to come along and try this with me. Whether you achieve the goal or have a different goal, you will not be disappointed. So, StarCraft 2 has a 1v1 matchmaking system that uses a ladder format combined with MMR, or matchmaking rating, which is basically ELO or chess rankings, if you know what that is. Each time you win or lose a game, you win or lose MMR based on your current MMR when the game was played, and the MMR of your opponent when the game was played. Early on in your career, the MMR fluctuates wildly as the system tries to figure out where you belong. But after about 20 to 25 games, it really starts to settle in. Once you get to this point, you can expect to win or lose about 20 to 25 points per game. Now, the MMR is broken into several tiers, starting at the bottom in Bronze 3, and moves all the way up to Grandmaster, which is the top 200 players in the region. My MMR right now is currently at around 3,600 with Terran, which is good enough to hold on to a Diamond 3 position on the ladder. I need to keep winning so I can climb to Diamond 2, and then Diamond 1, and then Masters 3 after that, which is where my goal is. But StarCraft 2 is a hard game, and I'm currently at a level where any of these players I play can easily beat me just as easily as I can beat them if I make too many mistakes. The ladder system is so well done, in fact, that unless you're making a actual improvement, you can expect to only win 50% of your games, essentially making you feel stuck at a certain rank. This means that in order to advance past that rank, you really need to improve. There's a number of ways you can improve at StarCraft 2, but the bottom line is you will need to practice a lot. So before I go into what my plan is to achieve this goal of hitting Masters, let me give a background on my career with StarCraft 2. I've actually been around this game for a long time. When it came out back in 2010, I had purchased a pretty shitty computer, but it came with StarCraft 2 for free. Back then, the game was not free. I played the campaign a bit, and I did a bit of 1v1 custom games with my buddy Dom, but that was pretty much it. I later discovered the ladder, and I was intrigued, but I promptly lost at least 20 games in a row. I had no idea how to play. I was clicking on the command card. I didn't think stimming Marines was a good idea since it caused damage to them. I had no idea what a build order was, and I just kind of randomly made shit and tried to rush for Thors. I remember a Zerg player put a Nidus Worm in my main, and I had no idea that was possible and just rage quit the game. But something pulled me back shortly after, and I was trying again. This time, I learned about Husky StarCraft. I watched a lot of games on YouTube and learned some decent unit compositions. I then won my first game, and a few more after that, and finally I made it to Silver League. At this point, I had switched to Zerg, since I found that their A-move style was easier to work with as a pretty bad player, and their macro system was a bit easier to wrap my head around. I eventually made it to gold, and then I plateaued pretty hard there. I was stuck in gold for a very long time, like 2 or 3 years, until one day I learned about an amateur league called the Chobo Team League. I didn't know what a Chobo was, but I thought the site looked nice, and I saw that it had a bunch of amateur teams who would just pick up new players and try to train them to win games in this specific league. I joined a team called All Inspiration, or All In for short, which is a neat play on words, as an all-in is a type of play you can do in StarCraft 2, but it also works with poker, as I'm also a pretty big poker fan and played quite a bit of that game too. So the name All In or All Inspiration just sort of fit with me, even though I don't do all-ins a lot when playing StarCraft 2, but I still really liked it. They were in need of a gold player specifically at that time, so I filled that slot right away, and I immediately got a taste of competitive StarCraft 2. I still remember my first game for that league. I looked up my opponent's previous games. He was a Protoss player who played a basic macro game with Colossus. So I hit up my teammates for practice. I practiced against Protoss all week, and I had a good grasp of the build I wanted to use. And I demolished my opponent, and he left the game without even saying GG. I was so proud of myself that I was instantly hooked for life. That moment right there, winning that competitive game and my team being proud of me and me earning a point for my team, is what did it for me. That made me just hooked to this competitive spirit type of game. I went on to win 5 more games that season, while only losing 1. Now, unfortunately, I actually lost my game in the playoffs, and I was gutted. I felt so bad for letting my team down. I remember after the game, I went to my bed and I just laid there in the dark and just thought about how maybe I wasn't going to play any more StarCraft. But obviously that feeling passed quickly, and I got back to practicing and back into loving the game again. Now, my dogs are in a room while I record, so I apologize if you can hear them. Not much I can really do about it, but I felt so bad letting my team down, but the love for the game was firmly embedded in my soul. For anyone who feels like they are kind of stuck with StarCraft 2, if you've been playing alone, I strongly recommend finding a team to play with. It made the difference for me and shot me to Diamond League based on just practice that I was putting in to prepare for each weekly match. That league is still running now, so there'll be a link to the description for that specific league, but you might find other leagues that work for you. This is just the one I partook in, and I still know people in that league today, and I personally recommend joining this league if it's something that interests you. Alright, so here we are now at the end of 2019. I am a Terran player with a goal of hitting Masters. My MMR currently sits at 3600, as stated before, but that's actually a high point for me with Terran. Recently it's been hovering around 3500 and not really improving. Only last night I was able to get up to 3600. If I want to hit Masters, I need to reach approximately 4,450 MMR or so. The highest I've ever been was around 4,100 with Zerg a couple years ago. I have a list of things that I'm going to try to use to keep me focused and improving. The list includes things like laddering for 2 hours every day, go over my replays critically, read articles and watch streams about StarCraft 2. I can dedicate an entire video to the list and improving specifically, and I might actually do that in the future. I've been playing Terran for a couple months now, kind of casually, but in the last week or two I've been really trying to be dedicated to get better. So now, with this goal to hit Masters, I'm pretty excited for what the future can bring. I've given myself an entire year, actually a little more than that, to hit this goal, but I think if I follow my list and keep myself motivated, I might be able to achieve this goal even faster. If that does happen, I can simply bump up the goal to the next league and then continue working. So I wanted to end this video by giving a heartfelt thank you to those of you who have stuck around my channel through all my twists and turns. I also want to thank those of you who are newer and choose to keep updated on my videos and subscribe to my channel. There was a time where my channel was doing reasonably well, making Final Fantasy XIV videos, but my interest changed and, well, the rest is history. I never really stopped caring about my channel, but I definitely struggled to find my niche after moving away from Final Fantasy. I'm still trying to carve out my own little space here on YouTube, but I don't want to look at it as a struggle anymore. It's just a path forward. It's my path forward, and I'll continue putting one foot in front of the other, even if I do have to sit down and take a break sometimes. So if you have any ideas on topics for videos you'd like me to make, please feel free to suggest them down below. I'm looking to branch out and try new things, so expect to see some different things coming from me in the future. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Twitch, where I can be found laddering away sometimes. I hope this video helped inspire you to achieve some goals. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the remainder of the video. Thank you.
Go. Upgrade complete. Mineral field depleted.
Who wants some? Better be good.
We're running out of minerals back home.
Gangway, coming through. Thor is here. Who wants some?
Vespian geyser
You want a
exhaust.
piece of me, boy? Armed and ready. Gangway, coming through.
Ready.
That field's been mined out.
Who wants some? Thor is here. Go. This better be good.
We're running out of minerals back home.
Want a piece of me, boy? Ready to plunder. Who wants some? We could use some help. Thor is here. Armed and ready. Go. Armed and ready. Ready to plunder. This better be good. Gangway, coming through.
We're running out of minerals back home. Mineral field depleted.
Who wants some?
CC's upgraded.
Who wants some? Ready to plunder. Go.
Field depleted. Geyser's empty.
Go.
running out of minerals back home.
Gateway, coming